which was the better treble? United in 1999 or Man City in 2023? Who had the better treble? Now, Gasky, we both agree that this is a stupid debate, yes?
You go into a season winning to want, and most big teams or most teams will want to win everything. And if you win everything you can, you've won it all. It doesn't matter about being better, the better one. There's no better one. You've won it. If you really want to nitpick, go for it, but you come to the wrong place because I don't care.
That's fine. Now, Gasky doesn't care, but we are still going to have this debate for vibes and for fun.
And he's got a gun to my head. So.
Yes. So, we actually don't really care because they're both amazing achievements in their own right. But for stuff like the next 10, 15 minutes, we are going to try to passionately argue one side of the other. So, Gasky, would you like to go first, or would you like? Yes, I tell you what, you go first because your treble was older, obviously.
Right. Let's. So
why is 1999 the better treble?
I would say, within the one agreement that we had was, and I think we can both agree that the hardest one to win of the three is the league, because you have to be consistent over the season, whereas you could get lucky in your draw and et cetera, in a knockout tournament. And I just think that I would say the only thing I would take from it is the league, the competitiveness at the top of the league was tougher in 99 than it was this year in terms of the competition and being pushed to the end, etc. Could have been this season, but again, everyone else has let themselves down, even Arsenal after their season. So I just think that would edge it. And then when you can argue with the cup, you can get lucky in the cup runs and things like that. So I would just say, if I was to pick, I would say that would edge it in United's favour. But again, very close.
And no other competitions you want to have a look at from either side? No.
But I would say City, for example, their cup runs, they had tougher oppositions because they had who did they play in the FA Cup? Chelsea and Arsenal. Okay, Chelsea were crap this season, but again, there's a better chance of Chelsea turning up for a 90-minute match than West Ham, for example, or some Championship team. And obviously they played Real Madrid and Bayern Munich in the Champions League. United's cup runs in 99 weren't as big as them. Okay, yeah, they played big players, but they weren't having the best seasons. But again, it takes a 90-minute match to perform. And, United had comebacks against Juventus. They come back in the final just to show that's what Sir Alex Ferguson's United was all about. Never say die. Then, yeah, I would say they would edge it in the league part, which would then edge it as better, in my opinion.
Okay. Do you want to make a point about homegrown players at all? Money, or do you not care about that?
Homegrown, they had 4 academy graduates in United's. Then they were breaking transfer records to make that team, same as spending money, same as City. That argument is a load of bollocks. I don't care about that. Money is inflation in the world. Money goes up, cost of players goes up. Teams spend money. That's the only way you win. You don't win stuff by sitting there and not buying players. The reason Real Madrid wins so many is because they just buy players left and right. Mm-hmm. And it's the only way you win the stuff. Okay, yeah. You really would have the argument. Yeah, okay. United had more homegrown players and more academy graduates in their team in 99, but they still won all 3. City won all 3. It's not really an argument to say one's better than the other, in my opinion. So it doesn't really interest me. Yeah,
no, that's solid and good to know. I'm now going to destroy your argument.
Oh, here we go.
No,
you're a fraud, Gasky. You're a fraud.
Well, I already knew that, to be fair. But yes, so let's engage in this discussion, shall we? So, starting with the FA Cup, which is like the least important of the 3, I think it's fair to say. Now, I've looked at the averages, Gasky.
Oh, there we go. The numbers are out.
No. And to be fair, I would argue it's minimal. The average league position of every single opponent United faced in the FA Cup was 2 positions higher than City. Now, I would argue that's a pretty negligible number. I think it was the average was 14th to 16th.
The issue I have with stats like that is, for example, you don't play all the matches straight after each other. So, for example, City played Chelsea this year, right? What if they play Chelsea, or what if another team that they're playing goes on a rubbish run and they end up dropping all the way down the league, like 6 positions, or one ends up going really high up? it doesn't correlate to me. But yeah,
but they're quite similar. So it's negligible.
If you this is just more evidence of how stupid this debate is. Let's be fair; it means nothing.
Yeah,
the only way you could argue who had a better FA Cup run is this league position thing, but it means absolutely no.
It's indeed, and it especially means nothing when they're basically similar. 14th and 16th, or 12th and 14th is very similar.
Of course it is.
Exactly.
You know, you'd have to go even deeper in it to see points differences and the gap. That's the only way you could say the difference is a 10-point gap.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's the first thing to say about the FA Cup. Now, second thing to say is that, you know, United did have a lot of heavy opposition. They had to play Liverpool. They had to play Arsenal in that famous Ryan Giggs goal. But they only played Newcastle in the final. And the reason why City's FA Cup run is better is because we faced United in the final, the first ever Manchester Derby FA Cup final. And there was the added context of the United players know that they've got the chance to stop City's treble. So whereas Newcastle finished like 13th that season or something. Yeah. So that's a point. The other point is that United were fortunate in their game against Arsenal. I think they had 10 men and Bergkamp missed a penalty or something mental. So I think Schmeichel saved the penalty and Bergkamp missed it. Look at Gasky's face. Why are you so upset?
No, it's just... I don't know. I get it. I get like got to compare them.
Get
in that
involved
way.
in the debate, Gasky. You don't have to agree with me.
No, it's more like I don't agree with like the look behind it. Like it just happens. It's football. It happens. You can say United were lucky to get 2 goals in a minute in the final.
No, don't worry. I will say that.
Exactly.
I haven't come to the Champions League yet.
There's look across the board. You could go in City season and find all the moments that they got lucky in and everything. So you just like but go on. I'll let you carry on.
There we go. So that's the FA Cup, and in terms of our run, the main talking point is that United final. But we also did play Arsenal as well, who were the toughest team we could have potentially come up against, and we also placed Chelsea early on, who weren't too much of a shambles by that point.
Chelsea is shit. Let's just leave it there. Chelsea don't count. That's void game. So you played Arsenal. That's what you've got. You played Arsenal
and United.
Okay, you got Arsenal
in the
United,
final, right. and the final is obviously the most important game. Oh, and also City didn't require any replays, whilst United needed 2 to get through, and we only conceded 1 goal in the FA Cup, and that was a dodgy penalty.
Right. You said this is the most pointless trophy of the 3, and you're going on about it. Well, right, move on.
I came prepared. I've looked into this.
I've been on public transport for 2 hours. Leave me alone.
That's your problem. So that's the FA Cup situation, and then the league. I take your points about it not being as competitive at the top because I think it's fair to say that that Arsenal side was much stronger than this Arsenal side. For an example, that was an Arsenal side.
And the Chelsea side wasn't far off that 99 season as well.
Yeah, of course.
It was 4 points between the top 3, I think.
Yeah, sure. I would argue that overall the league was stronger in terms of the mid-table teams and the lower teams. Not the top teams.
This year?
This year. Not the top teams like Spurs, Chelsea.
No, I would say there was more. Yeah, there was more games like that. Yeah, than 99 season.
And I know that you can't just use points, but hey, it's a debate, so I'm going to use everything I can. United only achieved 79 points, which is pathetic and pitiful, and there was only 1 point above the arse, whereas City have finished a lot higher, and that's after being behind for like 93% of the season or whatever. So that would be the argument there. Just in general, we've played around the same amount of games as the United 99 side, but we've won more, we've scored more, we've conceded less, obviously got more points, and we're literally undefeated in the Champions League as well. And as I say, only conceded 1 goal in the FA Cup.
It's mad to think that if I'm not, City's last loss was against United, wasn't it? At Old Trafford.
Spurs away.
Was that after?
Yeah.
What was it? I thought the Old Trafford.
Yeah, it was Spurs away, and then it was the financial breaches.
Last loss was against Spurs. What can you be? Oh,
well, it's because it's at their stadium.
Void the trophies.
And then we come to the Champions League, Now.
Oh, no, City's was better.
Well, I was going to say a lot is made of United's difficult run, and on paper, it is an extremely difficult run. They had Barca and Bayern in the group stages. They then had to play Juventus. They then had to play Inter Milan, and they had to play Bayern in the final. I'm just going to call out Gary Neville here, and because whenever he talks about the treble, he talks about Juventus and continually describes them as the greatest team in Europe at that point. Do you know what place they finished in Serie A, Gasky?
We were seventh, weren't they?
So they were the seventh best team in their own league.
Let's be fair, this is brutal against my own team, but United went behind in that leg and they had to come back against Juventus.
That too.
So
that too, exactly. And people can, I think even you said it yourself, people can look at the names of Inter Milan, the likes of R9, Ronaldo. People can look at the names of Juventus, Zidane. A lot of the players had injury issues. I think Inter went through 4 managers that year. And Inter finished 8th. So this idea that they are, were European giants is
the
not
names,
true.
isn't it? It's you see the names and you go, that's
they were great the season before.
Doesn't work.
I think they finished first and second the season before.
Well, that's the issue in it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the group stages didn't even finish top of their group. Bayern finished ahead of them.
But we beat them in the final.
Oh yeah. But
Bayern
didn't beat Bayern or Barca in the group stages either. Got to the final. Obviously, incredibly dramatic circumstances. They beat Bayern. But let's be honest, we've all seen that game, and Bayern were the better team across the whole 90 minutes. So if people want to say it's better to win a game that you weren't necessarily better in, you go for it. I would personally think it's more impressive to win a game that you deserve to win. That's just me, though.
Yeah, of course.
So
no, you would. But the problem is that this is how ridiculous the debate is, right? And this is going to come. This is not even football related. This is just social media.
Oh, of course.
Social media is a thing now, and people act like they know everything. And when they're the dog's bollocks when it comes to football. I know everything about football. But half these people weren't born when United won the treble.
Yeah. Most people don't know a lot about anything, to be fair.
Well, exactly. I'm not going to act like I know a lot about the treble. I don't, because I was a child. Simple as that. And I've seen highlights. My parents I go off my parents. Like everyone, the team you support, you go off your grandparents, you go off your parents who they supported. That's just how it works. My parents went to every away game of that 99 season. They were at the new camp for the final and stuff. And they told me the experiences and stuff. My mum will still tell you to me when I ask who the best player she's ever seen, she goes Cantona, hands down, every time, no matter who else she's seen play. Because that's who, it's her team and who she's seen play. That's just how it goes. And nowadays, people they refuse to admit that City are good. It's a jealousy thing at the end of the day. They're scared to admit that the City team is incredible. And it is.
So in conclusion, Gasky, has my debate swayed you?
In conclusion, I still don't give a shit.
That is not what I'm asking.
There's no answer because I don't care.
Yes, there is, Gasky. Well, I'm voting for City's treble being better.
City played better, but they won the treble. There's you don't get a trophy for being better, so I don't care.
Well, if you don't vote, that means City wins by default.
You can have it because he means nothing.
There we go.
There you go. Enjoy. City can have it because I don't care.
Well, there we go. You see, easy win, boys. Easy win. You heard it here first. United fan Gasky confirms that City's treble was better.
United fan Gasky confirms he doesn't care.
I don't really care either. I just like to enjoy it.
It's fun and games. It's fun and games.
Yeah, it's just mainly when people are trying to.
It's jealousy. They wish it was their team.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's mainly Goldbridge. To be fair, who's trying to demean the treble.
Oh, ignore him. He's a prick. He's a prick. Ignore him.
But yeah, there we go. It's like, the United's team didn't spend any money. It's like, well, you said
nothing.
It, so.
Nothing will ever change because it'll all still come down to you wouldn't be where. The argument will always be you won't be where you were if the oil money didn't come in, which is like saying that for any team. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Any team. You wouldn't have that trophy if it wasn't for 50 years ago, that person buying them.
Exactly.
It'll always have that.
It's stupid, but
It is.
There you go.
It is.
It's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah, it was that Goldbridge video. I think it was on TalkSport or something, and it was like, well, our Treble's better because we didn't buy our team and we had 4 homegrown. Here's an interesting.
I'll tell you. Actually, United did buy their team. It's just not as many as City. That's simple as that.
Exactly. Yeah. But and then like you look into it, it's like, well, Jaap Stam was the world record for a defender.
Jaap Stam, and I think Ronnie Johnson was quite a bit as well.
I think he was. Yeah. And Cole and Keane.
And Irwin. They bought Dennis Irwin as well.
We're both British transfer records. Yeah. Dwight York cost a shit ton of money from Aston Villa.
And Andy Cole.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just stupid. And then just on the whole homegrown thing, I mean, it's hilarious. I've also seen people go, City didn't have any homegrown players in their starting 11. Just interestingly, like changing the word into starting 11s to not include Foden, who came on and was really good.
It's just ridiculous.
Here's a question to you though, Gasky, just on the whole homegrown thing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the exact definition of homegrown is because I'm pretty sure that Paul Pogba was technically a homegrown player.
Yeah, well, that's the whole. I think the argument, homegrown is academy graduate. That's how I see it.
Right. So
because
interesting.
If you're because at the end of the day, right? If you're 15 years old and you're really good at football, and a massive team from another country decides, I want you to play for our academy and you can potentially play for our team, you're not going to say no if your dream's to become a world-class footballer, which means that you'll never be homegrown. You'll never be a homegrown player because you've left.
Right.
So
exactly. So I'm of the view, whatever the legal definition of homegrown is, I'm of the view that a genuine homegrown player is someone who is local to the area and hasn't signed to that club from another place from another place's academy. So they haven't come from another academy. That's my definition of homegrown.
You could create a new one and say homegrown is you've only ever played for them.
But I think there's also got to be the local area factor.
Would you like the definition? I've just Googled it.
Well, I know. I'm sure the actual definition includes Paul Pogba.
You'll be interested.
Okay.
A homegrown player is a player who has spent at least 1 year in a club's academy.
Yeah.
And has lived in the club's territory. So it's both. But 1 year in a club's academy means nothing.
Exactly.
It means absolutely nothing. Because technically, Garnacho is, but they bought him from Atletico Madrid.
And in the same way that Paul Pogba would be. So when Goldbridge is saying we had more homegrown players, I think it's intellectually dishonest because what he actually means is Manx.
No, we have kids. We have players that we didn't buy straight into the team. They came from the reserves. Because Ryan Giggs came from City's academy.
I was going to say he did, and David Beckham is a Southerner.
Beckham, yeah, exactly.
So I personally would say that Gary Neville and Paul Scholes were the homegrown players in that 99 starting 11. I don't think that you should be including a Southerner as a homegrown player for a Manchester club. I don't think you should be including a Welshman who came from your rival's academy as a homegrown player. Yeah. I think they got David Beckham at 15 or something, or 16 years old. So
yeah.
Is that actually homegrown, or have you just cherry-picked from another academy?
Well, this is the thing. The only reason that argument goes that way is because it makes them look better. That's all it is.
Well, no, yeah. It's more of an annoyance, to be fair.
Of course, it's just like, well, it's got to be the same for everyone. Simple as that. You can call it that, but it has to be the same for everyone. You can't change the numbers to make one look better than the other.
Yeah, it's just
simple as that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure like when we signed Gael Clichy from Arsenal, that technically counted as having a homegrown player because he came from another English club or something dumb. So it's just stupid.
I don't think I've ever called it homegrown player. I just call it academy graduate.
Yeah.
That's all it's ever been to me.
So that's that put to rest. Goldbridge is a fraud, but we already knew that, to be fair.
We know this.